Hi, this is Bill Keith. You're listening to 88.1 The Park, and I'm speaking with Lori, Jimmy, and Bobby Milleville. Their family is one of the recipients for the SJ5K this year. Thank you guys for joining us. One of the recipients, Lori, is your husband, Greg. Can you tell us a little bit about Greg's story and why your family is facing an incredibly challenging time right now?
Sure. It was almost a year ago now that Greg went out for a jog, kind of a walk jog, and he never came home. And it turned out that he had a heart attack and fell on the sidewalk near Hoban Elementary and was without oxygen for at least 5 minutes until some good Samaritans found him and helped him. And so he has what's called an anoxic brain injury. They were able to put a stent in his heart. So his heart's doing pretty well, but he has an anoxic brain injury because of being without oxygen for so long. And he is in an assisted nursing facility, and he's dependent on full-time care for everything. He can't do much of anything by himself, and he's in great need of a lot of therapy to see what we can help him get back.
Greg is definitely more than his very challenging medical needs. Can you share a little bit about some of Greg's loves in his life?
He loves his family.
My dad loves technology and computers. He could just mess around on computers all day. In fact, I've been cleaning out some of his workspace that he was in our basement because he'd work from home. And I think I found 5 or 6 different old computers and 6 different old monitors that he has just kept over time because he just loves it so much, and that's just his passion.
He also was a huge Disney fan. He absolutely loves Disney World, and we spent a lot of time dreaming of trips, planning trips. We had a big fantasy trip plan that we were going to plan for our 25th wedding anniversary for 2021, and he loved all things Disney.
He really enjoyed history and learning, whether it was, whole new, topics or time periods, or whether it was just small details about things he had heard before. When he wasn't either messing with computers or planning Disney trips, he was probably watching something on the History Channel or reading a book about some historical time period.
So true, especially World War II. That was a key one.
I read on the SJ5K profile of your family that he is also a big U of M fan.
Yeah, and Jimmy, our oldest, goes to U of M right now, and he marches in the U of M marching band and plays in the basketball band, and Greg and I love to go out and watch him. It was so much fun.
Lori, you met Greg at Ward Church in Northville. How important has your church and faith been as you've walked through these challenges?
I mean, our faith has been everything to us. Our church has been extremely supportive with us, with visits and help, and our faith has been everything because this kind of situation is one that you never even consider ever going through. You think of maybe losing someone, but you never think of losing them but not losing them. We still have him, but we've lost him. It's incredibly difficult to get your mind around. For me, believing that God has a plan and that there's a reason for this is the thing that really gets me through, because when I can't understand, when I don't like it, when I don't want it, I remember that God has a plan for our good, and I truly, truly believe that even in the most difficult times, and knowing that we have hundreds and hundreds of people praying for us, it's just helped us get it through.
You described it well on the SJ5K profile. You said that it's sort of an ambiguous grief that your family is dealing with. I'd be curious if you could talk a little bit more about what that means to you.
Jimmy's the one that found the term, and I thought it described it so well, and maybe the boys could add to it too, but you've lost something. I mean, we've lost, my husband, their father, he's not here in our home with us. We've lost that relationship with him, and yet he is still alive, and so we haven't completely lost him, and yet we have. We've lost our whole normal. We've lost everything that we know of our relationship with him. And it's really difficult to sort of process both of those things together. And you don't see it anywhere. Bobby can maybe share what he told me about that.
Part of something that I take from the grief and everything like that is that I read this, that when somebody around you dies or one of your friends dies or a family member, that part of you also dies with them, because he's not dead, but we can't communicate with him, and he's not really the same person that he was before. So it feels like the part of me that was a son has died with that. It's just hard. Also, it's like trying to cope with living at home and doing all the normal stuff and trying to get past that he's not here, but then also going and visiting him.
I thought when I read that, I thought you summed it up really well.
I found out on it. I was on a Christian college retreat, and one of the staff members I work with had mentioned to me the concept, which was originally developed to describe people with Alzheimer's, or people who are the caretakers for people with Alzheimer's, to the extent that it isn't even that you know what you have lost, because you don't know what the situation is going to be. And I thought that applied to us really well, because it's not even that he's in this skilled nursing facility and now he's just stuck there, never to recover. It's he could recover, or he could get worse, or he could stay the same for the rest of his life. And we have no idea. And that's where the real struggle comes, more so than from just the actual challenge, the actual loss of functionality or of the personality, but of the fact that we don't actually know how much we've lost, and therefore it is more difficult to grieve properly.
Greg is a 1984 graduate of Salem, and Jimmy and Bobby, you are also products of the district and the marching band program. What have the schools meant to your family? I
think I can say that the schools have really been a center point of our family, considering that my dad had gone there initially, and then obviously, like you just said, me and Bobby have gone there. And it really has been something where it's been fun to compare and contrast our experiences with his experiences back in his day. You know, the Salem football program was the big thing on campus, and obviously now there's a lot of big things on campus. And so just to be able to enjoy that experience, that it's been a point of, you know, like, while things are different, there was still some level of familiarity there between me, Bobby, and him, which was really cool to have conversations about.
For me, going through all of this, the school has just lifted me up in all of these different ways, because especially with the band is like a second family to me, where I can go in and everyone like accepts me and loves me, and no matter what I'm going through, I know that I can go up to anyone and talk to anyone. And especially the head band director, Mr. Wells, he was just so supportive of me always. And if I was ever having a hard day, I could go up to him and be like, I'm just having a hard day. And he would say, do what you need to do. Like, I want to make sure that you're okay. And I want to make sure that you're happy and you're getting the support you need. And so it's just like everybody has been amazing. And especially Miss Barbie in Canton and Mr. Rothwell and Mr. Blakeslee in Canton. They're just so incredibly supportive, and they're always there for me whenever I need it, and it has really made a huge impact on me, and it's made the difference going through all of it.
Thanks for sharing that. That's great to hear. The SJ5K is such a big community event where the community rallies together to support families. What has that support meant to you?
It's interesting because on the one hand, when we were at the kickoff dinner, there's this moment of thinking, oh no, like we're one of those families that needs to be supported. You know, it's always hard to realize that again. And yet just the support, especially from the students and the advisors that are helping them, has been so wonderful through this time. I know it's really difficult for them and disappointing for them and for us that it needed to become a virtual SJ5K, and yet I look at all the things that they're doing. They bring us little, surprises to our house, and they call and check in on us. And so even though we haven't participated in the SJ5K yet, and even though it's going to be a little bit different this year, it's really heartwarming to see how these students are so invested and care so much about us families that they never even knew before, how they're being there for us. And I hope that even though it's hard this year to have it be a virtual 5K, I hope that it'll be the start of having that be an extra part in future years to come, and that it'll help other families have even more support.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to definitely become a part of it. And I have a feeling it's something that was originally maybe not the way it was intended to be is going to be a part of making it an even bigger event.
I totally agree. I think you're absolutely right. Yep.
This year's theme is Run as One. What does that theme mean to you?
To me, Run as One is like we all have struggles and we all have things that we're going through, but we can come together and run as one and support each other and help each other out. And if somebody is lagging behind, we can help them out to come forward. And even though life might seem really challenging and really hard alone, when you realize that you have the support of everyone and that we're all going through this together and that everybody is there for you and you are there for them, then it makes life more manageable and it makes life easier to deal with, and the challenges don't seem as hard anymore because you have all of your friends and family around you.
To me, Run as One just defines how I think it's in the human nature to cast off differences in times of tragedy. That there are people in my life who I've had conflict with, and never before has there been such a harmony going through this, and just people understanding that, hey, there may be petty conflicts or disagreements, but at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff is a lot less important than what's happening right now. And just how you can see how in the midst of difficulty and tragedy, people can really come together despite their differences, which allows us to really come together to support different people, even if we're not always the best of friends.
That's so true. And I find it kind of ironic that they had chosen the theme Run as One, and then now we're going to have this race where we can't all come together as one physically, to be together and to be at the stadium and to all run together. And yet, we can support each other as one big group, even from far distances. And that's pretty great.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us and to share a little bit more about your family. I've been speaking with Lori, Jimmy, and Bobby Milleville. Their family is one of the recipients for this year's SJ5K, and you can read more about their family at sj5k.org.